Hello my friends, this is The Art of Prepping. Hey, welcome to another video. Today we're talking about the secrets of longevity. I've been secretly studying about this for several decades. It's kind of one of many hobbies. I like to just kind of read on studies, especially watching interviews from the actual people that are over 100 years old. It's not so rare anymore to be a centurion, but it's really impressive when, in my opinion, when they get over like 105 to 110 range. That to me is like, man, how'd you do that? So there's a big misnomer that, oh, it's genetics, we have no control over that. That is hogwash. It shows that probably less than 1% of your genetics will play into your longevity. And so what are the aspects? What does make it up? Now, this list is a little bit of a loose list that I put together. It's not probably in the best order. There's no really super priority in like which one's the best, even though I have my own opinion. But I'm just going to go through the list. There's a few handfuls of items here. So this, if you don't mind, just bear with me, and hopefully maybe you can find a few things that will be beneficial to you, or might be a little, at least interesting, that you might want to follow up on your own time. The secrets of longevity for me start with getting plenty of rest. I'm not really a good example of that. I don't sleep much, but you do need to be rested, and there's nothing wrong with taking a nap during the day. Of course, our culture, at least here in America, is so busy. It's like so wound up. We don't typically get a chance to do naps, but in many parts of the world, when I've traveled various parts in other countries, especially in Europe and even in Mexico, they literally like stop everything around lunchtime. I remember when I was in Italy and especially in Spain, man, things just kind of came to a halt in some of the, especially the more rural areas, man. I mean, the shops would literally just close. And it was like siesta time, if you will. You know what I'm saying? It was like everybody went and just locked up their shop. A lot of them lived upstairs above their shop, and that's, I guess, where their house was, or they went to their home, and they had a meal with their family or friends, and they either took a nap or they just hung out and rested. That's pretty good stuff right there, getting rest. Number 2, eat meat in moderation, and, try to eat clean sources of meat. It's kind of hard in the modern day to avoid a lot of meat that has antibiotics, bovine growth hormones, cattle that's fed GMO food, but it's out there, but it's really expensive. That's why a lot of people just don't do the meat. I personally almost do no meat. I may have a little piece like a couple times a month. I try to get all my sources of protein, though, between vegetables and, of course, eggs. Eggs is the number one for me. So every, thing in moderation is a good idea, but there's certainly some things you just want to completely avoid. So you don't really want to say everything in moderation, but certainly most things in moderation. The next thing is don't internalize everything. You don't want to stress yourself out on all these things that you can't control. Like when I read a newspaper or a magazine or something, there's like so many things that I disagree with that I just can completely say that's a hogwash, or that's a lie, or that person is ignorant, or whatever. And while I'm no genius or anything, just like you guys have probably, can catch when someone's not being truthful, it really irks me. And so I'm having to constantly remind myself, hey, quit that, the art of prepping, calm down. It's just not worth your health to get worked up over what people say. And so, you could go your whole life and try to counter all this, and, you may or may not make a difference, but, you're just killing yourself. So let's not do that. Just roll with life. Lots of fruits and veggies. That's a big one. That's certainly something that you need to increase. If anything, do more of the veggies and the fruits. But they're both important in a lot of ways to get your micro and macronutrients in terms of what your body needs to function, to repair itself. So let's do more of that and less processed food. Okay, so the next thing is active lifestyle. That's pretty obvious. You don't literally have to go and do quote unquote exercise or go out and run a marathon. You just need to be active. That's the thing that's been lost. Think about how natural it is to to go to a gym and work out. Is that really natural? No, we're not really. We don't have to do that. That's like completely hogwash. But if you're active around the house and you have a homestead, or if you're busy doing things and you're moving, that's going to really go a long way. Now, some people say, well, there's a big difference between exercise movement and then, daily stress movement. And for some people, it does help to go to the gym to burn off some stress hormones and to work their body out. So I'm not totally against the gym and stuff. It's just, it's a lot more unnecessary than you think if you were just simply active. The next thing is getting involved in the community, in the different community events. People who are old are very active, not just physically, but also with other people. Just like the longevity studies show that if you're married, you'll live longer than if you're single. Same thing. I mean, you just have a lot more, diversification psychologically, and you also have more support. And so you're more apt to make it longer because you have the resources to do such. The next thing is have a simple schedule. Don't be like me trying to get in all this stuff every day. I'm trying to simplify it even more. But it gets to a point, though, that you just have to get things done. And so you do have to prioritize. People who live long, man, are very consistent and steady, and they just don't overwork it. They're a hard-working people. That's why they live so long, because they're consistent. But they don't get so wrapped up in stuff. They see things as they are. And, just like stuff is stuff. It can be replaced. They're not going to get all upset. And so have a simple schedule. They say go to bed early and get up early. And so it's not only something that is more natural because you're going to bed when the sun's going down. So you have that whole, complete darkness that helps you sleep deeper. But it's the whole circadian rhythm of the body. It does so much better. And on top of that, there's a psychological boost when you get up early, especially if it's a little bit before everybody else. And you're like, man, I've already got a head start on the day, and I'm already doing stuff and being productive, and people are still sleeping. Now, that's pretty cool. I've done that for a long time now. The next thing is to avoid overexertion, which this is obviously a problem the older you get because it can lead to injury. And so, just don't overdo it. Just know your limitations. Just be honest with yourself. That's like for me, I've been trying to chop some trees down. After about 10 trees, my wrist gets really sore because I'm using a hand axe. You just kind of know your limitations. Like for me, after about 6 trees now, I start to slow down. And after the number 8 tree, I stop, even if I feel like I could do a couple more, because I know that I'll have a higher chance of injuring myself. The next thing is meditation. Now, this is not always going to be, practical for everyone because people won't make it a priority, but it is a good thing to do. I'm in and out of this. I cycle through this one. So I'm not a good example on this one, but I am doing better and trying to be mindful of the things that trigger me to stress me out. But meditation, for a lot of people, it's not just something that you can just focus on or have mantras and stuff. For a lot of people, what even works better is a type of meditation that it's like a mind dumping, where you just clear the mind and literally just go and pretty much just try to sustain a reality or a sense of awareness of not thinking, which is kind of hard to do. It's hard to not think when you're trying to think of not to think. But it's basically just trying to clear your mind. And you can kind of get in a habit of doing that, and it helps to calm you down. The next thing is people who live long have a lot of hobbies. They keep busy, obviously, and they have lots of interest. I must be like, Mr. Hobby, because I enjoy a lot of things. I'm into like a whole bunch of dozens of things that I'm really, really excited to see the progression on in the next year, for example, or in the future. I'm just curious about how things are going to evolve within that particular hobby or interest group. So that's cool. If you have hobbies and you know that you really like connect with those hobbies, stick with them, grow with them. It's a great lifestyle to actually have things that you can kind of keep up with over long term. The next thing is intermittent fasting. Now, this is definitely something that, man, this is kind of cool, because it's like we talked about this briefly in the channel, but Intermittent fasting and the next one, which is calorie restriction, is vastly superior than eating like 3 meals a day. And so you might want to go back and try to find that video, or just do a Google search on intermittent fasting and calorie restriction. But this is like really a really good way to guarantee you to get a little bit more life out of your body. Because basically, you're talking about making the body more efficient on how it burns and keeping your body weight down. I mean, it is a really good way to stay healthy. So check that out. And I've been doing that for a while now. I do intermittent fasting pretty much consistently almost every day of the week, which basically for me, it means anywhere from 12 to 16 hours of fasting. And then I have basically 2 meals. I know people who actually go to the links and they push it a little further and they just have 1 meal a day. Some people say that it's not healthy, but I'll be honest with you, it really isn't that unhealthy. In fact, there's a lot of health benefits that just don't get enough recognition. So, I mean, to me, that's just a little bit too far at this point. I'm not saying that I'm moving toward 1 meal a day, but 2 meals and a small snack, man, that to me kind of does it. The next thing is avoiding alcohol, drugs, and high-risk activities. That's pretty much a given. You're putting yourself in situations because of either putting toxins in your body or risk of injury or death. The next is no gluten. I preach this all the time. Having gluten products is just going to be one way to guarantee more inflammation for the body. It's just not worth it. So might want to avoid those. The next is no processed oils, especially fried foods. Once again, it inflames the vascular system, has all kinds of side effects which are not healthy and beneficial for longevity. Processed meats increase your chances of cancer, definitely a no-go. And the last one is the well-done meat. When you cook meat to the point it's well done or overcooked, basically, once again, that's carcinogenic as well. It's very unhealthy. That'll definitely put you in the grave faster. Hopefully these were helpful. Feel free to investigate each one of these individually, or any one that you had specific thoughts on that you wanted to know more about, or message me. We can try to maybe expand upon it, in a message. But hey, thanks a lot for all the support. Hope you learned something a little bit here. And I know I always do when I do these things. I kind of write things down. Sometimes I just kind of remember what I already knew, or maybe you find out and dig a little bit, deeper and find a few new things, which could help us all. Thanks for watching.